let's take a look at a few examples on how to record some different instruments. First, we're going to take a look at how to record an electric guitar. A really simple setup would be an electric guitar amplifier and a microphone. Now, if you look behind me, this is exactly what I have here. The amplifier is a simple 23 watt tube amplifier, and the microphone is a Shure Beta 57. The microphone is positioned right in the center of the cone, and it's maybe 2 to 3 inches from the cone. Now, setting up the microphone this way, pointing directly towards the center of the cone, will give you a good amount of high frequency response. As you move the microphone away from the center of the cone, you'll get less high frequency detail. It's also worth noting that when you mic an instrument, or even the human voice, that your results will never sound exactly like it sounds to your ear, especially with an electric guitar amplifier. Because of the way the frequencies radiate from the speaker cone, it doesn't sound anything like it does to your ear. A lot of the high frequencies come straight out of the center of the cone. Most guitar players that I've seen playing on stages and even in the studio don't position their guitar amplifiers so that they are getting a direct kind of feed from this high frequency beam coming from the center of the speaker to their ear. A lot of times you'll see guitar players with their amplifiers on the ground where it's pointing at their knees. So they are hearing something that's quite different than what a microphone pointed directly at the center of the speaker is going to hear. Now, you can position the microphone further away, but just like in our other example, that'll get less direct sound and more of an ambient type sound. That may be the sound you're looking for, but let's check out what this setup sounds like. All right, I have my microphone plugged into my audio interface, and I have set the gain so that the loudest sound coming from my guitar at this particular amplifier level will be around -6 decibels. Now, a lot of times in the recording world and the audio world, the volume spectrum is represented from -infinity to 0 decibels. 0 decibels would be the loudest thing. Anything above 0 decibels would be what's called clipping, and that's a type of distortion, and it's very, very bad. A pretty bulletproof technique is to take the loudest possible sound that you're going to get and make that -6 decibels. That gives you about 6 decibels of headroom, or kind of room above the loudest thing, and it gives you a margin of safety. So let's check out at this volume what we got going on here. Cool. We get a nice direct sound. It's full, it's punchy. Now let's check out what a distorted tone might sound like with the same exact setup. With the same microphone at the same distance away from the speaker, changing out these variables, changing the tone, changing the EQ, changing your guitar settings, your pickup settings, your tone settings, you can get an almost limitless number of tonal possibilities. Now, the way I have my guitar amplifier set up right now with both the clean and the distorted signal are with the equalization knobs pretty much flat. So it doesn't have a lot of boost in the low end or the high end, or it's not cutting any mid frequencies. It's just flat right across the board. And generally that gives me a good palette of tone to work with. Now I can further modify that in my recording application with EQ and other sounds. Now I should also tell you that when you're recording electric guitar, it's always a good idea to record a dry signal. So you'll notice that my guitar amplifier didn't have any reverb, it didn't have any compression, it's just my guitar going right into the amplifier. No extra pedals. Now, if in your setup you use some compression pedals or some overdrive pedals before the amplifier, that's totally cool to use. That's part of your tone. Anything like delay, chorus, reverb, those kind of modulations and time-based effects, you want to add those after in the recording application because you'll have a tremendous amount of control over them then, whereas if you kind of bake them into the sound now, you're basically stuck with whatever you have. It can make editing a nightmare because as you cut a sound with reverb and kind of trim it and mash it together with other clips, it can sound really messy, and it's a much smoother sound if you record a completely dry signal and then add all of those other effects later. Now you can also get some different tones by using a different microphone. In this situation, I'm using a dynamic microphone, but you could use a large diaphragm condenser like this microphone. You could use a small diaphragm condenser. You have a lot of options. You can also kind of vary the situation by moving the amplifier in your space. If you put your amplifier in the corner, which is how I have mine set up, you may get more low frequency response in your microphone because as you put a sound source in the corner, you're kind of reinforcing the lows. So by putting the amplifier in the middle of the room or near another wall, you may get some different, more desirable sounds. So you have a lot of options, moving things around, changing microphones. This is a basic setup that can get a lot of different tones without very much work.